Hello everybody. So this morning I came across this video, which I would have it linked in the description box below. So the title of this video, this video showed up on my feed page, news feed page, and it's titled as Germany, the world's third largest economy under pressure. Okay, so it's from DW News. And I clicked into it and I watched it, and now I have certain feedbacks when it comes to such an information that is presented to me. And so what I would love to talk about here, or say explore, or say discuss, is that when it comes to any kind of structure, the economy is evidently a structure, or say a system, that would grow according to supply and demand, right? So that is just a fundamental driving force of the invisible hand, if we have to put it this way. But in fact, it's really driven by how individuals' desires grow and fade away over time, according to what stimulates them and what replaces their stimulations in many other ways and forms and shapes. And from what I understand from this video, is that Germany has been facing a really downturn of the economy over the last 2 years. And what I'm going to read a little bit of the transcript from the video. In one of the interviews during this video, there is a guest speaker. His name is Arthur Sullivan. So they talked about, the host and Arthur Sullivan talked about that. So I'm going to read a bit here. So Arthur, let's start with the main economic challenges facing Germany today. Tell us what they are in simplest terms. And that's what Mr. Sullivan answered. The biggest problem is that Germany has no growth. So for the last 2 years, the country has not only not had any growth, it has had 2 years of a contraction. So the economy has actually shrunk in that time. So when you don't have any growth, you therefore then don't have any confidence. Now, the main reason why there has been no growth is primarily driven by a collapse in the country's manufacturing base. So that would be the industries, like car making, machine building, these sectors, chemicals, which Germany has really been a world leader in for much of its post-war history, but which are now collapsing before its eyes, shedding hundreds of thousands of jobs over the last 5-6 years. And the country sort of, now there's a lot of reason why those sectors are flagging, but more than anything else, the big collapse in those key sectors is what is undermining German growth. And now let's take a stop here, because I would love to discuss on this first. Because from what I understand here is the guest speaker, he described the fundamental failure in the system, which is the key sectors not performing as they used to be in an efficient way. How they used to is they are a very industrial, intensive kind of export country. And now that these kind of key sectors are not performing as well, like not at all as it used to be, and that's why that would cause the entire economy to shrink very quickly. And how I perceive any kind of systems or countries, it really comes down to cycles. Because for any systems, even if it is a systematic approach to design, but in from another perspective of seeing it, it's actually a very, it is a cycle of repetition. However, if it is a loop, then it would very much become stagnant over time. And in such a case, it really requires growth. And that is what Germany is currently facing in this particular video that I'm talking about. Because one country in itself is a cycle. And then there would be other countries, right? And each country actually has their own cycle. And in order to break out of any kind of bottleneck situations, it's really calling for the change in the approaches. So at the end, near the end of this video, there's another guest speaker. He mentioned something about the political parties. The guest speaker is Marcel. I don't know how to, Freshire, I think. So he mentioned something about, he doesn't really put any strength or stress on choosing or supporting which political parties, nor do I. I'm not speaking about politics here really, but it is politically related because politics is very heavily tied with the economy, or it's the economics, right? However, when it comes to politics, it really, what does politics play in economy is really how this kind of, what kind of life force or direction is this governing party injecting into the system. And that is what determines how the system is going to perform well or not. So it's not really, it's really about the amount or the quality of the life force that is injecting into the system, rather than how much these people can do, to be honest. Because it's not that they are doing anything, but it's the framework that they have to set to direct the system to grow, and they are not really doing the groundwork. Who is doing the groundwork is the people in the system. So it's very essential for political parties to set the framework that is futuristic enough for embodying new rooms for expansion for the system to grow into, which is basically the mold, the new mold. That is what political parties are for, is to set the mold. And now what the guest speaker here mentioned, Marcel, the last one, he also mentioned that, let's quote him. So what he said is that the young generation is really the victim of this campaign, because the promises are, we don't have to change in Germany because it has worked well in the past. We want to go back to the past. We don't want to go to the future. And quote, that's what he was saying. And that's why I'm not very optimistic about the new government really having understood that reforms have no alternative, and they need to be courageous and really changing a lot within the German economy and society. So I do agree with his point of view, because if you try to go back to the past, that means you go back to the mold that you have already had. So if you are already shrinking, your economy is already shrinking, then you want to go back to a previous mode that you have already outgrown. What's the point, right? So reforms really have no alternative, and I do resonate with him on this aspect, because you do have to now build a bigger mold, enough rooms for the system to grow into. And that's how, for any kind of systems, when facing a bottleneck, which is what German economy is facing right now, to grow out of it, right? And now when it comes to the system in itself, fundamentally, Germany, especially when it comes to the manufacturing, industrial sector, that's the big hit, right? That's where they have the big hit, the key sectors. When we look at the economy in itself, German economy, the economy of Germany, the input and the output, there's not much there, right? Because the input, they don't really borrow any money, they from any other countries or from anywhere else, and they don't have input. And because they don't have as much export as well, then they don't have input, right? That's the loop, backing loop, but back loop of it. So that's where they don't generate enough revenue, so to speak, if we speak from a business sense, to have the input that they need to generate new technology or inventions, or basically have more activities. However, what I see, this is usually how we see from a system-based thing, where it has the input and the output. But what I see when in this case is not really about the input and the output. That's the real issue here. How I perceive it is the process, is the activities. And let me explain why, like how I see it. Even if when it comes to input of the system, they don't input much, and now they don't export much. So in a biological sense, that's simply constipation. That's really a case of constipation. And what happens also in the middle part of it, which is between input and output, right, the process, is that the German economy is really undergoing a phase of eating up themselves, or say self-burning, self-destructive, because not only they are not absorbing, or they not inputting new life force, okay, and at the same time they are not even producing or say exporting much, okay, due to different kind of factors such as competition, such as electric cars from China, or such and such. They are suffering from huge energy prices or huge energy costs, because they are a very energy intensive industry. They're very dependent on energy, and when it comes to having such a huge cost due to the Ukraine situation, where they don't get access to cheaper gas, such and such. Some of them is mentioned in the video as well, that these companies even have to pay a levy to the government for emergency energy storage. So that is like that is putting a lot of burden on these companies. And not only that, there are many talents would go to other countries to seek for opportunities and employment. So what does it mean? It means that this system has a lot of machines, has a lot of structures, has a lot of resources. They have a lot of resources, but they don't have enough activities. So this is how it's like when the digestive system is not moving as efficiently, then that would cause us to have constipation. It's not that we don't have things to burn. It's not that we don't have things to burn, but it's more of we don't have enough fire to burn the resources. And that is exactly how I see the situation of Germany right now, as regarding the to their economy, because they have the talents, they have the machines, they have the infrastructure, they have the resources, knowledge, techniques, all of this, but they don't have that activities going on. Once they have these activities going on, which is the fire burning, the fuels would then be burned more and more, and the system will start moving again, slowly and slowly. So it's not really about the input and output at this point. It's more about getting the activities going and moving. Such as what? Such as incentive programs for young startups or entrepreneurs, or any kind of creativity incentive programs for the young generations, even to put together the younger generations and the older generations together in order to generate new insights and creative ideas for inventions, or even for any kind of strategic approach to the economy, or even to just simply business incentives. And that in itself, when people have a sense of purpose, or say a sense of direction, this confidence and optimism would build up and would keep the fire burning even more. The thing is, like, imagine if it is a fireplace, right? It's not that you don't have enough wood. You have wood. You have the woods, okay? But the fire is burning low. So if the fire is burning low, no matter how much wood you put into the fireplace, you might even kill the fire. So the thing here now is not about gathering even more resources, or like talking about the debt break, or any kind of input or output at this point. Is really about getting the system internally to move, to build up activities, and to get the people moving, to get people to stimulating each other to expand. Once they get this fire burning again in the fireplace, you can then adjust how much kind of resources you want to redistribute at any given time accordingly, right? But now that you have too much wood, but not enough fire, so it's really important to get activities going on. And I would see that would be the same for any kind of constipating issue in the body, because ultimately it's not about how much you eat or how much you release from the system. It's more about you not having enough strength in the digestive system to burn whatever we take in. And once the digestive system is running again, activity is going on again between the enzymes and stuff, that's the enzymes. Enzymes is basically what stimulates activities, right, in the body. Or say it's the yeast in bread making. That's how we get activities going on and building different webs that is the gluten in bread making, to have very gooey and like bread that tastes very good and with a beautiful texture. That's what yeast is for, right? To build up the activities between the molecules. So that's the same for a society. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this video as much as I do. And if you have any of your perspectives and opinions, please feel free to share in the comment section below. And if you find this video interesting and you like more contents like this, please give it a thumbs up or subscribe to this channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.